Live. Okay, we should be live. If you can hear me, hello, it's Thursday night and it's time for another live stream. Thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed my YouTube shorts today. Felt odd doing them, but enjoy using all the YouTube tools to chat to you guys. Today I'm going to be talking about my Cineworld portfolio. Let me get up on the side screen display capture so that you can see what I can see. Also, what I want to talk about is a film that's come out recently, or a trailer that's come out for what's it called? It's Santa Claus. It's like Die Hard meets Santa Claus. I'll find out the name for it. I want to watch the trailer with you guys, basically. I haven't done a lot of research for this week, as I said in the YouTube short leading up to this. I think probably the best prepared I've been for this Cineworld stream, if you're just tuning in. I can put a link to episodes that are best for sort of actual deeper analysis and with quite a bit of data. I don't want to be going over the same stuff every week for obvious reasons. So I'll put a link in the description for episodes that have perhaps more in-depth analysis. And then also, if you just go to my channel page, the ones that have any posts that have yellow backgrounds are like edited in-depth analysis. Any posts that are white background are just live streams. This all started on my other channel, Manu Talks, and I moved it over here to just talk about Cineworld. I don't know why I did that crazy decision, but I'm happy about it. I like that there's a place to follow it. If it goes to the moon, that would be incredible. If it goes bust, well, let's not think about that. Right, here we go. We've got Cineworld here. This is the stream on the side, and it's live. And I can hear myself, so I got the audio working, which is great news. Thanks to whoever put in the chat, by the way. Thanks to whoever put in on the Cineworld Reddit page. Let's go straight there. Shared my stream here. Thank you very much for doing that. That made my day seeing that. It's nice to have the support of you guys. Anyway, what I'd like to watch first, a bit stupid, but what's it called? Violent Night. I hope you guys don't mind watching the Violent Night trailer together. If this isn't the normal thing that I do with you guys, but I know that you come here for Cineworld analysis and additional data. There's not too much of that this week. There's not too much new stuff to go into that is accurate or corroborated. So yeah, I thought it would be interesting to see this film that I am really keen to see in the cinema. I think this will get, if this does go to cinema, let's just have a check to see if Violent Night, oh yeah, no, I checked. I went to the Cineworld website and it is definitely going to be in the cinema. So this is a film that will potentially add a little bit of extra revenue on top of Avatar 2, which would be great. There aren't a lot of films being released in December. That's one of the mild concerns I have, is that studios resisted creating any blockbusters for this month purely because Avatar 2 is such a behemoth that they didn't want to have to compete with it. So it's nice to see a good, stupid action/comedy, essentially a Die Hard style film, but featuring Santa Claus, that can take the space of people that aren't interested in seeing Avatar 2, which will be a lot of people who want to go to the cinema and not see Avatar 2. So this trailer is absolutely brilliant. Like, this is the best trailer for a film I've seen in ages, and it's absolutely hilarious. So I really want to share it with you guys. If in the comment section, I'm just going to check the comment section now, and just saying don't watch this, or like this isn't what you come here for, then I'll listen to you guys and we won't do it. But yeah, let's watch this trailer. This film looks hilarious.
You ain't driving, are you?
I steer a little, but the ranger do most of the work.
That's the guy from Stranger Things, by the way.
This is my 4th year as a Santa. How about you?
I started the whole damn thing.
So, yeah, your classic Christmas film.
We decided that you could have one gift.
Early.
What is it?
That is a direct hotline to Santa Claus himself.
I can talk to
I don't know how
Santa.
parents never believe in
right,
Santa in these films, by the way.
Welcome to your worst
Where do they think
Christmas
presents
ever.
come from?
You have $300 million in your personal vault.
So right now it feels a bit classic, bit
That's
family
what I want
fun.
for Christmas.
Oh, Santa's shown up. This isn't going to be what you expect if you haven't seen this trailer.
I don't want any trouble, okay? Someone's gonna scooch up that chimney.
Who is he?
Okay, I just know where this is going.
Santa, are you there? Daddy said you were very busy tonight. My room's Trudy lights too. Are you gonna help us, Santa?
Yeah, Trudy.
Santa?
You're on my nice list. Santa Claus is coming to town. Time for some season's beatings.
Who the hell are you?
Boss, what if he really is the real?
No such thing as Santa.
These bad men, they're all on my naughty list. Naughty. That's naughty!
And what
Such
do you do
naughty.
to the naughty ones?
I give him a lump of coal.
Where is it?
I gotta watch.
I believe in you, Santa.
Come on. Which one of you did that? Prancer? So unprofessional.
Alright, sorry, I moved the mouse over the screen like a teacher does it. Friggin' annoys everyone. But come on, how original does that film look? It's I've not seen a trailer that original in ages until I'm not going to just watch trailers with you guys. Like I feel like you do come here for Cineworld information, but there's Cocaine Bear, which I watched today, which looks really dumb, low budget, but I think it will be quite entertaining. But anyway, yes, this is going into theatres, and I think it's the perfect thing to go alongside Avatar 2. I think that's something for everyone in the cinema this year. We're covered, the slate is now there, and so for anyone that's not aware, the slate is the main reason that Cineworld are giving, the board of directors are giving for why they are currently in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So if the slate gets better, presumably they will be able to get out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Presumably if the slate was brilliant, they wouldn't be in this situation. That is how the board of directors have retained their position, because they are able essentially to blame external forces. They aren't necessarily allowed to blame COVID-19, which is really frustrating. There's actually been a few lawsuits where they've tried to claim that they shouldn't have to pay some of their leases, their rent on their buildings, because that they haven't been legally allowed to have people come to the cinema. The argument against that is essentially the reason that the judge couldn't give that to them was essentially it would create a terrible legal situation across the country. So which companies can claim that they don't have to pay their rent because they didn't have foot traffic come into their premises because of COVID? So it would create this sort of massive stalling of the economy. So essentially, Cineworld had to pay rent, even though that they were legally banned from having people come in to the cinema. Arguably, there should have been some sort of furlough, could have extended capital leases, but that would have led to more inflation. So I certainly would have been very against that. Anyway, so now Cineworld, I believe, have such an incredible slate. They've got the raw stupidity of this film, but also this guy is, I think, a bigger celebrity than Hollywood knows yet. Like, absolutely right that he should be featuring in this film. Him in Stranger Things, I think he's probably my favourite character in Stranger Things, probably one of the only characters I come back for now. Just gets, he reminds me quite a bit of John McClane I can't remember the name of the actor, but Die Hard, like this is totally Die Hard, but with Santa Claus. So yeah, really can't wait for this film. I got a notification, new subscriber, thank you. Right, questions in the comment section. Do I think Cineworld will be sold? What would be the impact for shareholders if it was? If Cineworld is sold, well, then that's technically liquidation. So Cineworld being sold is liquidation. So if Cineworld is sold, then the debtors get the money first, right? And so the business gets sold with its debt. And so technically, if we go to, I don't know if I have QuickFS on this here, quickfs.net, and I can go to Cineworld. Yep, I'm on Cineworld, and can I go to the other pages? Balance sheet, I need to log in. I think I do this literally every week where I need to log in. If I go to Yahoo Finance, and I go to Cineworld, and what I'm basically looking for here is Cineworld's debt. And so, where do we have the debt? So you can find out the debt plus the assets is the enterprise value, which is usually on the front page of other sites, but it's not on this one. I don't really like using Yahoo Finance because I find it pulls the data wrong quite often. But I will use it for this example. You go to the balance sheet is usually where the debt is, and we're looking for long-term debt, which is there. So Cineworld currently have 5 billion in long-term debt. So if a company goes to buy Cineworld and the purchase price is over 5 billion, well then anything over 5 billion will be what they're paying for the assets, and we own the assets. So the creditors own the debt and we own the assets. But I mean, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but essentially if Cineworld gets sold and it's for more than 5 billion, we become in the money. And I personally believe, I talked about this briefly in last week's episode, is that the people that are likely to be buying Cineworld are streaming platforms, which are companies that would likely pay a very high price for the world's second largest cinema company. And even a low price, which is what they would get at auction, they would get a lower price at auction, is substantially higher than, I believe, the 5 billion in debt. So if we think about how companies are conventionally valued, Cineworld pre-COVID had a revenue of 3 billion. So a really simple way that people value companies is 7 times revenue, but the price of companies more depends on market conditions and all sorts of factors. Obviously there's a lot to go into it, but I think basically Disney Plus, Amazon and Netflix are the 3 ones that I can think of. Oh, and Warner Brothers Discovery. All of them would also take on large loans to purchase Cineworld because it would mean that they could refinance their existing debt, which is probably coming to term. So if they got a big loan, they could pay off the debt that is coming to term, and even though it would have a higher interest rate, they could have debt that is fresh debt that is potentially over a longer term period. So yeah, Cineworld, like these companies would be very interested in purchasing Cineworld. Amazon, obviously the main one, has a cash supply that it can deploy of 36 billion, and so all these other streaming companies will have to compete with Amazon's 36 billion cash supply. So that is Netflix actually also has a surprisingly good amount of cash. So I'd made a video about Netflix a little while back, and I was a bit critical on them, and I still am a bit skeptical on them from a shareholder's point of view. However, they do hold a good amount of cash considering how much debt they have. So they have a substantial amount of debt, but they also have a good amount of cash to help with interest payments when it comes to terms. So where I would find that, I'd go to the financials, I go to cash flow, and so free cash flow, they make money now, which is nice to see, but it was substantially less than a couple of quarters ago. Is this quarters? This is annually, so it's a couple of years. Anyway, trading 12 months. I'm not doing an in-depth valuation right now on Netflix, but essentially there's a lot of cash in society, and even companies that don't have cash have access to debt. So I expect Cineworld to go substantially higher than 1 year's revenue, and currently their debt is 5 billion. So if it's higher than 5 billion, which is what, if it's sold for that, then shareholders should be in the money. That's how I understand it, but I'm not an expert on this. That is just my retail trader's perspective on that. I believe that if Cineworld went for sale, it would be for something like 10 billion is my low estimate and 20 billion is my high estimate. And I don't even think that's a very high estimate when you consider the fact that Cineworld's revenue is 3 billion, right? And Twitter's revenue is 5 billion. And yet Twitter loses money, from what I gather, and Cineworld makes 1 billion in cash flow every year from its 3 billion. 1 billion in cash flow, 500 million in dividend, and then another 500 million in free cash flow, so that's 1 billion in cash flow. So Twitter sold for 44 billion, and everyone kind of agrees that was really high, and trying to work out if Elon Musk is playing some version of 4D chess or whether he's just in fact an imbecile. And so I honestly don't have an opinion on that. I am amazed by Tesla and SpaceX and everything he's done, but right now I can't see what the game he's trying to play. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that Twitter was a $5 billion revenue company. Cineworld is a $3 billion company revenue. And Twitter sold for 8 times revenue. I think Cineworld could sell for 7, which would be 20 billion. I don't think that's crazy. So we've got a few more questions. Think we will see another drop to 2p soon. Need to get my average down. I never saw the original drop to 2p coming, even in the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings. I am very surprised by how low people have been able to buy this stock. So I originally got in at 20p during the pandemic, and then it went up to 120, and that made me look at it more, and that's when I got in by a sizable amount, and then I averaged down. My average was like 50p, now I got my average down to like 30p, but yeah, so I never saw it going to 2p. 2p is, quite frankly, like shocking how low the price of the stock is. To give some perspective, Cineworld is, at 2p, is trading at around $40 million. It might even have been $20 million. And compare that to its revenue of 3 billion. That is, if you take all the zeros off, that's like 2p versus 3,000. So buying a company, buying £3,000 for, have I gotten this right? Yeah, buying £3,000 for £2. So it's incredibly low, incredibly low. So the market, generally speaking, is not very rational. It just isn't. There's just so many metrics to how you come to having one number for the price of a stock. And so what happens is very irrational things as a consequence. And I personally follow investors like Warren Buffett and Michael Burry. You might not believe that they have very much in common, but actually they're both very hardcore value investors. And the thing that they do is they go, okay, the market's irrational, so we're going to ignore the market and just focus on the earnings. And when price is good relative to earnings, we're going to buy. But that does not mean that the price isn't going to go lower. And that is why they do so well. And both Warren Buffett and Michael Burry have bought stocks and lost money on them. But generally speaking, it pays off enormously long term to ignore the market prices. So you're just playing a law of averages. The worst thing that you could possibly buy and hold is the pound or the US dollar or any fiat currency. And so you're winning just by getting into the stocks and shares game. Anyway, let's get on to the next question. By the way, I promised that I would talk about my loss porn on this stock. So I invested, let me get it up on my phone. I'm mostly invested on free trade. I'm also invested on Hargreaves Lansdown. On Hargreaves Lansdown, I invested like something really small, like 600 quid, and that's down. That's one of the worst ones. That's down to 100 quid. And then on my free trade app, I am down to 46p. The overall loss is the investment is 6,409. So I posted this on the Reddit page, so you guys should already know what it is. I'm down 84% on that. The current value is £1,170, so about $5,000 down on Cineworld at the moment. But I'm still holding because I can't let go of this stock until Avatar 2 is released. I just can't. And this is the thing. If Avatar 2 is a big blockbuster success, all of this could be salvaged for Cineworld. But obviously, if there's broader issues with the company, that will come to light after Avatar 2 is released. So yeah, that's what I'm holding for. Scarface meets Santa, yeah, essentially that. It looks so good, and I love the cast and everything about that film. Sorry, just joined. Do you reckon this release could affect prices at all? The price of the stock will not be affected until Avatar 2 box office figures are in, and we will be following that every single week. So thank you for the question, Emily Thompson. Also, it looks, the film looks brilliant. Yes, actually, what I would say is this film can affect prices, because if people turn up in extraordinary numbers to see that in the cinema, then it should obviously imply that Cineworld will be able to pay off its debts. But the main film that will be able to pay off Cineworld's debt, current and past, because we've got a couple of months potentially of debts that have piled up while we've been in the Chapter 11 filing. We need to pay off all of them in order to come out of it. And not just that, we need to be able to prove that we aren't going to go back into Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the following months after we come out of it. Like, we can't just pay off the debt and then suddenly we go back to operating as normal until we run out of money again after Avatar. We need to be able to prove that we can comfortably pay off into the future, but there's a really good chance of that because of the way that the cinema industry works. It's real pigs and troughs, and obviously COVID made us more vulnerable to the highs and lows, the swings. Our cash supply was gone, but this is how it works. We have interest payments that are consistent relatively throughout the year. They go up and down each month, but they're relatively consistent throughout the year. And then you have big blockbuster releases at specific times of the year that help you pay the interest payments that are steady throughout the year. So you have erratic rises in incomes that aren't just erratic because certain films are released throughout the year. Some films are better than others, and that is sometimes the biggest impact of where Cineworld gets its revenue from. Is, no one could have predicted, no one could have cash modelled for Top Gun, which was unbelievably popular, and that massively, enormously helped Cineworld with its profitability for a few months. But in an earlier live stream that I went through how even though that did make Cineworld profitable for a month, it wasn't enough to help it survive and weather the storm of an incredibly low amount of box office releases through July and August. Right, next question. Also, it looks funny. We'll watch that. Looks awesome. Definitely checking this out. Glad all of you guys are looking forward to this film as much as me. When do you think the Chapter 11 proceedings will end? Moontime, when it does. So I sometimes get thumbs down for posting videos or just talking about Cineworld, and some people I'm trying to get in touch with certain YouTubers. I won't do it with this channel because it seems to put them off when I do use this channel, because I think people think that I'm just going trying to push this stock on people. Like, I feel like all of you guys in the comment section know the risks of Cineworld. Like, they're plastered on the wall. It's an interesting, very interesting bet to me, and it has I think it has a really good odds versus the rewards. And so, when do I think the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings will end? They'll end in two instances. They will end either when Avatar 2, a couple weeks after Avatar 2 is released and Cineworld are able to pay off all of its debts. That could even come very soon after Avatar 2 is released, because they've got 600 million already. Avatar 2 has already got 600 million in pre-sales, so the people booking to see the film prior to its release, they've already got 600 million in revenue from that, not Cineworld specifically. And that's the challenging thing, because that's not Cineworld specifically, and so they will have only had a portion of that 600 million, and also Cineworld will collect a lot of its revenue through popcorn and Coca-Cola sales. So what I mean by that is Cineworld's getting some of its revenue now, and then by the time 2 weeks after Cineworld Avatar 2 is released, they might have collected the lion's share of what they're going to get from Avatar 2, which might be enough to get them out of Chapter 11 filings. If they can show that they're cash comfortable, then the Chapter 11 filings proceedings, I believe, will end. However, if foot traffic is low for whatever reason, the sort of second week pre-sale is down and stuff like that, then this might be more drawn out. There may be things like Cineworld were talking about at the beginning of the Chapter 11 proceedings, there may be things like share dilution that they have to deploy, or there's potentially the fact that the business will be sold, which we've gone into in this episode so far a little bit already. 20 billion would be lovely, but UK stocks don't really have that kind of luck. 20 billion would be luck, in my opinion. 20 billion is 10 billion to 20 billion is rational. And also, when you think about it, Cineworld own Regal, which is an American company, and Amazon knows it's American, Netflix knows it's American. It's the retail investor that doesn't necessarily associate Regal with Cineworld. And that is why I think AMC did well, because they associate AMC with cinema, and that being their cinema. So when they see AMC going bankrupt, it elicits a more emotive reaction to America, which is the world's largest economy, which is what pushed the share price of Cineworld up. When Cineworld gets sold, auctioned to another company, it will be companies that understand that Regal is part of the Cineworld collective, and they understand the revenue. So I think the price of the business could potentially sell for a hell of a lot more than what its share price is on the London Stock Exchange. Moon or sunk, I think we will know by April 2023. Absolutely, I also agree that by April 2023, we'll know whether Cineworld is going bankrupt. There will be the issue of Cineplex still and all of that hubba bubba. But if we're at bankruptcy, Cineworld will go up dramatically in price. Invest more, that is, if that's what you want to do. But I am not pushing anyone to do that. But if that's your prerogative, go for it. But all I would say is I consider the money that I've invested, obviously I've invested $6,000, which is, and more in other places, so probably $8,000, $10,000 maximum, which is around a quarter of my investing portfolio. But I have, which is a crazy amount to put in, to be honest. I probably put in too much, but in my mind, it's gone. I'm imagining that Cineworld has gone bankrupt, but and then I am hoping, doing lots of research, but obviously it's a bit out of my hands. I just believe with confidence that Avatar 2 will do really, really well. Still not going to pay a penny over 5p from your last stream, but has been steady for a while. When do you think it will get higher? I think you're saying when will it get higher than 5p? We're still going to have to wait and see how Avatar 2 gets released. The audience reaction to that, I think, will also have an impact on the share price. But at the same time, I don't give a toss about the share price. I care about the earnings. If the earnings are strong, then they'll be able to pay off their debts. I would personally rather it just stay at 5p for ages so that I can see that the earnings are safe. It can come out of bankruptcy and I can buy it when it's out of bankruptcy for record low prices. So I'm not looking for the price to move anytime soon. I would actually like to have the information and the knowledge that Cineworld is not going to go bankrupt before buying more at this price. But yeah, that's why it's good to do weekly updates. Gotta love the revenue from the popcorn and Coke. Yes, absolutely. Can't wait for that revenue. Shame they don't do whiskey. That would be a good idea. If we get, for instance, anything over... By the way, I'm reaching the end of the questions, and so if you want me to answer them... Actually, there's a slight delay, so even when I'm saying this, you probably won't have a chance to get your question in time. But if you do, yeah, questions now, because I'm going to be ending the live stream. So thank you guys for joining, and can't wait to do this again next week. And yeah, let me read the last question. If we get, for instance, anything over 10 billion, I'll be the richest I've ever been, fingers crossed. Wow, yeah, happy for you, pal. I mean, 10 billion for the stock. Yeah, actually, you would get a considerable amount of that because it's so cheap.